Okay, this is the 16th lesson in a series of lectures on how the United States is starting a new Cold War with Russia. All right, and what I want to do in this lecture is review the 17 USA attacks on Russia that are starting a new Cold War. Now, you could say it's 18 if you combine in there our meddling in our politics, because we say they're meddling in our politics. Well, we're doing the same to them, all right, through these, quote, pro-democracy, unquote, NGOs that are operating inside Russia, all right? All right, so in a couple lessons, in lesson 18, we'll get back on track and we'll examine Russia's history of horrid military performances, all right, going back to the Crimean War, all right, everything except World War II. And even World War II, for the first year, there was this horrible military performance, all right? And they got their act together finally in World War II, but Russia was facing Nazi genocide, all right? And that's the exception. Let me give you an example. Recently, Russia had to fight 2 wars against a tiny province within their own country. I mean, it is minuscule when you look at Russia. Chechnya, tiny. And Russia lost the first war. And then in the second war, it took Russia 10 years to reach a settlement. All right? Nevertheless, it is being passed that Russia can and is intent on conquering European nations, including NATO countries, to rebuild their glorious old empire. Right? I mean, it is total ridiculous bullshit. Right? But this is what's being passed. We'll get back to this. Right? But before we examine Russia's grossly exaggerated military capabilities, right, I want to review the 17 attacks, threats the USA jammed Russia with, because history tells us that 99.99999% of the population will have retained zero facts. I mean, they just won't. Most people, the vast majority, won't even bother to pay attention in the first place, but other people who do casually pay attention, they'll forget it all. Nothing will be retained, so I got to review it all, because what dominates, whatever is being waved right now in real time in front of their face, that's the only thing they'll have in their minds, right? Because they won't remember these facts. So, you know, I can only give a summary of the 17 attack, which unfortunately can only be a watered-down version. Whenever you give a summary, it's only just a watered-down version, right? I cannot teach it all over again. Right? You know, you can't keep teaching it over and over and over. And given that masses retain no facts or intelligent analysis, the liars will attack with a big wave of social reality that is entirely dependent upon the masses remembering no real details, right? And if they don't remember any details, right, then the simple, baseless 10-second little blurb that's waved in front of their face in a big wave of social reality will dominate their minds, for that's all they will know. That's it. Whatever's waved in front of their face. And the attack will be a diversion that shifts all focus off the facts and analysis, plus it'll have the support and backing of social reinforcement, which is powerful and overcomes all facts and intelligent analysis, which aren't remembered anyways. So they don't matter. And the masses will forever fall for baseless social reality ways because they instinctively believe, well, if everyone's saying it, it is the truth. Right? But there's no truth to it when 99% of the masses who are saying this, they know nothing themselves. Right? And it's a 10-second simple baseless blurb. Right? That's a diversion off of the facts. You know, and what do the masses? What research do the masses do? None. All they search for is a simple, quick, what everyone is saying, right? What all the people, right? What people? The people who know nothing. What they are saying. I mean, man, how stupid is that? If you base your belief on what everyone is saying, when all these people know nothing, though no one will admit to this, they all fall for it. Social reality dominates forever. Social reinforcement dominates without any facts or intelligent analysis, which the masses know none of anyways. So let's review the 17 U.S. attacks on Russia. I mean, you could say it's 18 if you include our meddling in their election politics. You could say 19 if you include our hacking Russia. But I won't say that. I'll just assume that like all the masses believe, USA never hacks, has no interest in hacking Russia, never has tried to hack Russia. All right, we don't do that. Right, we don't hack. Okay, we'll say that. I mean, no matter how crazy that is, we'll say it because that's what the masses are saying. USA doesn't hack Russia. All right, okay, we'll say that. I'll just agree with them. Okay, we don't hack Russia. We still do 18 other things, which they don't. 17 times the USA attacked or threatened Russia. All right? All right, and notice, there are going to be economic, military, security attacks or threats, and these are all inextricably interrelated. They're all linked together. They all, support and reinforce one another. I showed you the basic history of this. I can't teach it all again. All right. Now, going back to 1982, during the Reagan administration, USA attempted to block development of Russia's Urengoy gas pipeline, all right, to Europe, which was being financed by European nations with pipe for gas deals. Right, that's how they're investing in it. Right, they say, okay, we'll build it for you, we'll give you the pipe, right, in exchange for future contracts on gas. Right, you give us the gas for this. Right, we'll pay. That's how you pay us back. Now, so this is United States screwing with a vital Soviet economic interest. What if the Soviets did? What if anyone did this to us? Right? Americans would go apeshit crazy. They go bonkers. Right? People would be running around. Let's go kill some Russians. Right? Damn commies. Let's go kill some. I'm serious. Right? Americans would go bonkers. They go ballistic. All right. Now, in addition to this, former Secretary of the Air Force Thomas Reed detailed in his book, At the Abyss, how the CIA hackers planted malware in Soviet computers that caused a massive explosion on that pipeline, the Urengoy Siberian gas pipeline. In Reed's words, it was, quote, the most monumental non-nuclear explosion and fire ever seen from space, and he might know, given the fact that he was director of national reconnaissance. What is that? That's like U-2s, that's like space satellites, all right, cameras and crap. So Reed was a former Secretary of the Air Force and Director of National Reconnaissance. And at the time of this attack, he was serving on the National Security Council, so he would have direct access to this information and what's going on. All right? He'd be part of the policy discussion. Now, this malware hack and attack on vital Soviet economic interests was approved by the Reagan administration. Now, I know this is going to be attacked. Liars will attack everything. They're going to say, without any basis, oh, Reed is lying. And they'll say, he's making it all up. He's not credible. Right? All right. So, even if we get rid of this, well, it's still undeniable that we tried to block development of their pipeline here. Right? The liars are going to throw out all sorts of attack to blow smoke, to raise red herrings. To shift the focus, that's a red herring. You shift focus onto some other issue, right? Like they're going to try to shift all focus onto, the whole hacking thing. Make it a debate. And then shift all focus off of these attacks. So this is an economic military security attack or threat. Now the next one is probably the most benign attack. All right, it was in 1996 to 1999. The U.S. government pushed to promote non-Russian Turkmenistan gas. All right, this is before the Shah Deniz field in the Caspian off of Azerbaijan was discovered. So the main competition to Russian gas would be Turkmenistan gas. All right. Now this is not free market, competition. This is direct interference with the government. All right. But again, this is like the most benign, minimal attack by the U.S. It's still an economic threat to Russia. All right. Then in 2001, the U.S. has plans to overthrow the governments of 7 Russian client states in 5 years. They include Iraq, Libya, Iran, Syria, Sudan, Somalia, Lebanon. And this is according to General Wesley Clark, right, his testimony. I showed you this. I showed you a video of it, right? And we did overthrow Iraq. We helped overthrow Libya. All right, through the Arab Spring, Syria was overthrown. The Civil War, well, at least part of the country, the government only has about half the country left, right? And we went hard after Iran. I remember in 2012, people may not remember that there was a big push to attack Iran. Just after we attacked Iraq. Now we're going to attack Iran, right? There was a big push to attack Iran. Let's see. Now this is an economic and security threat. Plus, whenever you overthrow a government, right, you typically get what? Civil war. You get instability, you get chaos, conflict, a lot of killing, you get ethnic cleansing, you get, sectarian violence, you get sectarian terrorism, right? All sorts of crap spill out from whenever you overthrow government because you get a state of influx, insecurity, and you get a scramble for power, and then you unleash a whole bunch of killing. All right. Okay. Then, just after the 9/11 attacks, that was 9/11 of 2001, in December, using the irrational hysteria in the wake of the 9/11 attacks, the Bush administration unilaterally abrogates the ABM treaty for utterly bogus reasons. Right? The Bush administration's statement on this said that the threat required both WMD and ballistic missiles. Well, who had WMD? No one, right? Who had ballistic missiles, right? Iraq had to get rid of its Scud missiles, right, back in 1991. And if you recall, Scott Ritter said that, he and his investigated team, right, scoured throughout Iraq and found that there were no Scud missiles remaining, right? And then the CIA took his report and said they had 200 Scud missiles. And Scott Ritter's like, how can they say that? It's a flat-out lie. We proved the opposite, right? All right, and then Iran has some ballistic missiles, but the longest-range missile can only hit about half of Romania. That's it, right? Maybe a little more than half of Romania. But what's remaining to them, right? Why would they don't have a WMD? They don't have a nuke. Why would they throw a ballistic missile at Romania? Now, remember, I don't want to review the whole analysis of that. How silly and stupid and ridiculous it is. I mean, I made that mock conversation between the Ayatollah and his military advisors, right? I mean, I made it kind of a joke, but that's exactly what it is. It's so comical, ridiculous, right? I can't explain it all, right? How utterly preposterous it is that they would throw, a conventional warhead, ballistic missile at Romania, right? But what did this do? Those, the anti-ballistic missiles are directly aimed at Russia. It's jamming Russia with a nuclear threat, right? Now, I know people are going to say, well, those ABMs are not nuclear, right? It doesn't matter, right? They're totally integrated with nuclear weapons through mutually assured destruction balance, right? So if you jam them with an ABM missile threat, that's jamming them with a nuclear threat. Now, I can't explain the whole thing to you again if you don't remember. So, all right, so this is a nuclear threat to Russia. That's a military security threat. All right, then in 2003, the USA manipulated the U.S. population, Congress, and allies with what they said is a meticulously planned strategy. Now, I taught you this, how they manipulated the entire country and the Congress into invading Iraq, right? If you don't remember again, I can't teach it all over again. This is just a watered down, this is a sentence, I can't teach it, And that's what people say, well, you didn't prove anything in this. Well, I can't show you all of it again, all right? So we invaded, this is flipping Iraq from being a Russian client state to a U.S. client state. Recall that Iraq was one of the 7 and 5 plans, one of the 7 nations that we're going to overthrow. We did it. So it's an economic and security attack, plus, again, you unleash sectarian violence, you have civil war, you increase terrorism. We increased terrorism with that. We created ISIS with that. All right, that's a good job, creating ISIS. And then there's attacks on other nations. You know, Britain invaded with us, Spain invaded us, so there's terrorist attacks on their countries. So we're spreading terrorism, right? Increasing terrorism. We're not, you know, fighting terrorism when you're expanding the terrorist threat. Okay. All right. And then in 2008, there was a concerted push by the USA. There were Senate and House resolutions, and President Bush pushed hard to get both Ukraine and Georgia into NATO. Right? Now, why would you package Ukraine and Georgia together? I think it was an accident, right? Or did it have to exactly do with Russian gas sales? So this was at a time when Ukraine was screwing Russia bad on its natural gas sales to Europe, of which 80% of Russian gas goes through Ukraine on its way to Europe. Right? Ukraine is stealing gas. Ukraine's not paying for its own gas. Ukraine has big bills building up they're not paying, and they're violating contracts with Russia. They're screwing Russia. Now, Russia is so desperate they try to bypass Ukraine. 2003 they built a Blue Stream. 2005 they considered Yamal 2. 2011 Nord Stream 1. 2012 construction begins on South Stream, but it was canceled in 2014 due to sanctions. 2018, Turk Stream is done. 2019, Nord Stream 2 is done. 2019, Turk Stream 2 is being built. So they're bypassing Ukraine every which way, left and right, as much as they can. And then what? What is Georgia? Georgia is the route for non-Russian gas, either coming from Turkmenistan or coming from the Shah Deniz field off Azerbaijan, right? Got to go through Georgia. So these are two linked together. Now, what happens when you give military umbrella to Ukraine? NATO military to umbrella to Ukraine. Who's screwing Russia? All right? You think that's a good security situation for Russia? Or are they going to think, well, damn, they can now screw us all they want? All right, that's a severe threat. So it's an economic, military security threat to Russia. It forced Russia to make a defensive invasion of Georgia. All right? Now, people are going to say, well, what else is defensive? No, it's defensive, man. We jammed them with this threat, right? They reacted by invading Georgia, and, right, as soon as they got the Georgian president to promise not to join NATO, they backed out. Right? That's defensive. If we're offensive, they would have taken the pipelines. There's gas and oil pipelines running through Georgia. Right? That would be offensive. They backed out as soon as they got promised not to join NATO. It's a defensive move. Right? Now I can see people debating that like crazy. No, that's offensive. Oh God, I mean, it makes you want to just slap someone in the side of the head, like grow a brain. All right. All right. 2011, U.S. Military operation to overthrow the government of Libya. Right. So we bombed the hell out of Libya. Right. Russian client state. It was U.S. ships and aircraft. They fired weapons. They could have been laser guided. They could have been GPS guided, or they were also targeted by U.S. agents. There was U.S. agents on the ground inside Libya who were providing targeting. Right. Okay, so we're calling the overthrow of 7 nations and 5 plants. Well, Libya is one of them. Okay. This is an economic and security threat, overthrowing a client state, and plus, again, you get civil war, you get instability, you get failed state, you get chaos and conflict, you get a lot of killing, you get the rise of warlords in Libya. And now, this is now fertile soil for ISIS to take root. That's a good job. Good job. Right? I'm running strategy to fight ISIS, and these guys are, creating new fertile territory for ISIS to expand. Bunch of idiots. No, they know what they're doing. All right. So, 2011, U.S. NGO supported Arab Spring, which spread to Syria, sparking a civil war that fragmented Russia's sole remaining client state in the Middle East. That's all they got left. Now they only got half of Syria left, right? The Syrian government only controls about half of the territory. Recall that Syria was one of the 7 in 5 countries to be overthrown. So U.S. NGO support. We'll talk more about the role of NGOs here in a second here. All right, how they were established, their history of them, these quote pro-democracy NGOs. All right. Now this is an economic and security threat. Plus, you get again civil war, instability, failed state, chaos, conflict. I mean, Syria is a mess. Right? Everyone's got skin in the game there, from Turkey to Iran to Russia to us to Saudi Arabia to Israel to Qatar and any other of the Sunni nations. All right. Okay. Who else would have interest in there? I don't know. Terrorist groups. Okay, yeah. So it fueled Sunni Shia sectarian conflict. Especially it fueled, as a proxy war, conflict between Iran and the Sunni nations. Okay, for example, Iran was supporting the government, and Saudi Arabia and Qatar were supporting Al Nusra, a branch of Al Qaeda, and they're also supporting ISIS for a while there. All right. Why? Because they're Sunni, right? Okay. Now, U.S. support for Euromaidan group that conducted a revolution in Ukraine and seized power, threatening NATO expansion inside Ukraine. That's a threat to Russia. NATO on their door. Also now, Ukraine can screw them on gas. Plus, we gave $5 billion, and there's U.S. pro-democracy NGOs operating in Ukraine, supporting the Euromaidan group. Right? Okay. So let's take a look at this stuff here. All right. I don't know if you remember, but I told you this is basically a condensed version of the CIA playbook and how to overthrow a government. All right? These are the things they do. All right? And I can't go through this whole list again, but basically everything in yellow is what the pro-democracy NGOs can do. Only the ones in gray, I mean, they could possibly be done by these pro-democracy NGOs also, but it's probably going to have U.S. government, official government support for these things, especially naval blockade. That's totally U.S. government, and sanctions. That's U.S. government, right? Passing counterfeit currency. That was CIA did that during the Iran coup. All right. That's U.S. government, all right? Okay, but all this else can be done. All these things can be done by these pro-democracy. Don't think these pro-democracy groups are like angels here. All they're just doing, don't be fooled by the name pro-democracy, all right? So let's take a look at the first the prototype pro-democracy NGO, right? The granddaddy, National Endowment Democracy. Co-founder was this guy, Alan Weinstein. And this is what he had to say. Quote, a lot of what we, the NED, do today was done covertly 25 years ago by the CIA. The biggest difference is that when such activities are done overtly, the flat potential is close to zero. Openness is our own protection. Right? What do these NGOs do? Right? They foment political movements. They foment protest movements. Right? They destabilize governments, and they overthrow governments. Right? These protest movements easily and quickly get out of hand, just like in Ukraine. Right? Just like in Syria. And then they become a civil war. They become a government overthrow. So they appear as angels because it's pro-democracy. We're the good guys. Yeah. But they're wolves in sheep's clothing. Right? And don't tell me they're a non-government when the National Endowment for Democracy gets 90% of its funds directly from the U.S. government. Right? This is a government organization. It's sheep's clothing. Right? You better get away with it. Same crap that the CIA did. Exact same crap. So that's what he said. I showed you. This is all the stuff they do. I can't go through the whole list again. All right, now, here is a picture of Victoria Nuland, who is Assistant Secretary of State for Europe and Eurasia. All right, meeting with the leaders of the Euromaidan group, the guys who overthrew the government and seized power. All right, this is about 2 weeks before the revolution, February 6th. All right, now here's a transcript from about 2 months before from Victoria Nuland. All right, and I went through this in detail. Right, I went through word for word the highlighted areas, what she said. All right. I don't have time to do that again. If you don't remember, but I'll just summarize it again. It was a short 8-minute speech, but in that 8 minutes, 20 times Victoria Nuland said that that integrating Ukraine with Europe, pro-West, was the goal of the United States, right? The goal of U.S. actions in Ukraine, including our investment of $5 billion to assist Ukraine. She said, we've invested over $5 billion to assist Ukraine in, quote, achieving its European aspirations. That's pro-West. That's flipping a client state from Russia. As we take Ukraine to the future it deserves, right? So she's saying we're taking, right? There's active U.S. role in this. And she talks about how she's negotiating with also, between Ukraine and the European Union, right? And we gave $5 billion. Now, what do you think the $5 billion is charity? It was like Christmas present? It was Santa Claus money? No, all right? It was specifically to move Ukraine towards Europe, right? To the West. That's flipping a client state. So here's a phone conversation that was tapped and recorded. Victoria Nuland with, it's uncertain, but it's believed to be Jeffrey Piat, who was a U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, right? Now, I'm not going to read this whole damn conversation, but I'll just say if you can look this up yourself. Just Google this, right? And say full text, right? So this is Assistant Secretary of State for Europe and Eurasia, Nuland, discussing plans with the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine on arranging who should be in the revolutionary government once it steals power, right? Nuland agrees to call Yatsenyuk, whatever, he became the revolutionary government prime minister. After they had a revolution and stole power, he became the prime minister. And to tell him that Klitschko should not be in the government. And Nuland agreed. Okay, yeah, good. I don't think Klitsch should be in the government, right? So they're trying to set up line up who's going to be in the government once they take power, right? More planning by Nuland on who should be in the revolutionary government, right? And then the European Union was balking on the U.S. Push to line up this government, right? And because they were hesitant to offend Moscow, from what I read, like half the people were okay, let's do this, and half the Europeans were like, okay, no, what's, and then what does Nuland say? Fuck the EU. That's what she says right there. Fuck the EU, right? And then later on, she says how she's talking about the need to get Vice President Joe Biden on board to publicly endorse their planned revolutionary government lineup, right? And then on April 22nd, this is after the revolution, right? After the Maidan groups seized power, Biden gave formal recognition for the revolutionary government. So this was done, right? They got Biden to make a go to Ukraine. He went to the Cabinet of Ministers Club in Kiev and made this speech, right? This was formally given recognition and support to the Maidan revolutionary government. All right. All right, that's his speech. You can read his damn speech if you want. Just look it up. All right. I don't have time to go through the whole damn speech. So don't tell me we're not supporting the Maidan revolution. And then this is an economic and military threat, security threat with NATO expansion, right? Plus, it's threatening Russia's security in the Black Sea, especially, right? Threatens potential loss of all their bases in Crimea. So Russia sees Crimea, right, with this increased threat, and then that's portrayed as Russian intent to conquer all European nations. There is no correlation with that, right? This was a defensive move to protect the Russians. It was not about expanding control. It was about not losing the Russian bases, the military bases in Crimea, which would be threatened with NATO expansion to Ukraine, right? With a pro-Western government coming to power, right? And this was done bloodlessly with a referendum with overwhelming popular support, right? And I went through all the umpteen ways, upside down, left and right, forward, backwards, in which Ukraine belongs in Russia. All right, historically, politically, military bases, ethnically, linguistically, in every which way, Crimea belongs in Russia. It's an irredenta. All right, I mean that's a far cry from invading European nations, especially NATO nations, which is Russia just got their ass kicked, right? I mean it's so far-fetched, radical leap. It's like ridiculous. But it's believed. If it's passed in social reality, everyone believes it. I swear, it's king with no clothes. Everyone believes it. Everyone believes it. Everyone runs around. Hey, the king's got beautiful clothes, and he's buck friggin' naked. All right, 2014, the U.S. sanctions on Russia after their annexation of Crimea, a.k.a. it's called the Freedom Support Act, right? And that causes Russia to make an east shift, right? Increase ties with China, right? So it's an economic threat, right? And now that causes an east shift, and now it's a bigger boogeyman. All right, it's a coalition of, superpower Cold War threat now. All right. Then in 2016, USA has the ABM system in Romania up and running. It's operational, jamming Russia with a nuclear threat. And again, I can't explain how it's all related to nuclear weapons. These are missiles designed to shoot down ballistic missiles, which is part of the nuclear threat, right? So this is disrupting the mad deterrence, right? It's increasing nuclear threat to Russia. All right, if you don't understand it, I can't explain it again. Nuclear threat, it's military and security threat, okay? And then we begin construction on the ABM system in Poland, which is nearing completion now, right? There were some contract problems, subcontractor and contractor problems, but all right. Increasing the U.S. nuclear threat to Russia. So we're expanding the threat to Russia again for bogus reasons. It's Iran. Well, Iran doesn't have a WMD, right? And they got, I can't go through the whole manifold arguments, all the arguments. It's like ridiculous across the board. I can't teach you all this again, right? I mean, why do they put missiles, in Poland and Romania, which are directly across from Russia, when there's nations closer? There's NATO nations closer. What about Bulgaria? What about Greece? They're closer. What about Turkey? It's right on the border with friggin' Iran. Why not? But they put missiles in Poland, which cannot be hit by Iran's missiles, right? And Romania, which can only half the country can be hit by Iran's missiles, right? But it's right across from Russia. Who do you think they're really jamming with this? I mean, come on. Oh, but you're going to forget this. You're going to forget all this. And then U.S. attacks Russia's Nord Stream 2 pipeline with sanctions. That's an economic security threat attack. And then in 2009, U.S. Congress attacks Russia's Turk Stream 2 pipeline with sanctions. Again, an economic security attack. And then in 2020, the U.S. State Department elaborates on their countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act by expanding sanctions to loans and investments for construction, expansion, and modernization of Nord Stream 2 and Turk Stream 2 pipelines. It adds that it's not limited to financing or construction operations or goods and services, technology, information support. I'm thinking, why do they add this? This is like a catch-all. They're basically saying, this is not limited to this. Basically, this is open to anything we think of in the future. Anything else we think of. It's an open door here. It's a carte blanche, blank check, right? Clause. And we'll do this to anything else we think of in the future. All right, so this is an economic security attack. And then in 2019-20, the U.S. State Department courts Belarus with exchange of ambassadors with Belarus and promises to provide 100% of Belarus's oil and gas needs at a competitive price. I mean, how are you gonna beat Russia when Russia has pipelines directly to them, right? And we gotta cryogenetically process, gas, liquefy it, ship it across oceans, right? Same with oil. We gotta ship, right? They have a distinct price advantage, cost advantage, right? How are we going to have competitive prices unless we subsidize it, right? And it's easy to think because we're already subsidizing the hell out of oil and gas, right? When we're paying next to nothing compared to that for renewable, right? Which is going to be the real benefit to our economy. It's about politics, power. All right. So yeah, Pompeo said, okay, this is what Pompeo said. The United States wants to help Belarus build its own sovereign country. What? Belarus is not independent? Oh, but they're connected at the hip with Russia. All right? That's what he's saying. They're right? They're a sovereign country, but, so he's saying, like, quote, really sovereign. All right? So this is driving a wedge between Russia and its sole remaining client state in the West. Right? Moldova is courting the West. What are Moldova and Belarus anyways? They're nothing. They're crap economies, right? Both of them. Tiny crap economies, right? What's our interest in them? Is it going to benefit us economically? Hell no, right? But it's a good way to jam Russia. It's an economic security attack threat of Russia. All right. So, all total, there's 14 economic attacks, 3 military attack threats. I mean, 3 nuclear ones, anyways. Right? You could say there's more military threats than that, right? But there's 3 nuclear threats, right? Abrogation of the treaty, installing ABMs in Romania, installing ABMs in Poland, right? Security threat attacks 15. All right, we're jamming them with all sorts of threats. What do the Russians do to us? Screw with our elections. Well, we screw with theirs, right? What else do they do? They hack our government and some of our companies. All right. I'm not saying we hack. I'm going to take the radical, crazy, ridiculous view that we don't do any hacking of them. We don't even try. We do nothing to We don't spy on Russia. What is hacking today? What is spying today? Hacking. That's how you spy mostly today. Right? I mean, you can still do old school, getting double agents, whatever, all that crap. Right? You got satellite stuff, right? Right? But a big part of spying is hacking. That's huge today with everything being on computers. All right? So, I mean, if you take the position that they're trying to hold, U.S. is doing none of that, right? Okay, I'll accept that. I'll take your position, right? U.S. is doing nothing. Crazy as it is, ridiculous as it is, far-fetched as it is, I'll accept your stance that USA is doing none of that. All right? All right. Okay, fine. I'll give you that. It's still Russia's doing 2 things. We're doing 18, and these are severe. We're whacking their economy. We're jacking them with nuclear threats. We're expanding NATO on their borders. Jacking them with military security and economic threats. We're flipping client states. On and on. 17 times the USA has attacked, threatened Russia, in many cases forcing Russia to react defensively, which is then portrayed by the U.S. as Russian offensive aggression and intent on conquering European nations to rebuild its glorious old Russian Empire, Mother Russia. Right? And this is fueling a new Cold War. What a load of crap. What a crock. Right? I mean, people are buying this stuff. Why? Because they buy anything. Right? King with no clothes. Also, U.S. foreign policy has been irrational and counterproductive, leaving in its wake a bloody trail of civil war, increased terrorism, ISIS, chaos, conflict, instability, sectarian violence, Arab on Arab terrorism, ethnic strife, along with failed states which become fertile soils for radical groups like ISIS to take haven. Good job. But do Americans see this? No! USA only does good in the world. We don't screw up. We don't do evil things. Yeah, okay. We're like Marvel comic book heroes. What are you talking about? The liars will completely ignore all 17 of the above USA aggressions against Russia and shift all focus onto two things only. So this is what they shift all focus. And the wave in people's face. This is the only thing they're going to have in mind. All right? Only thing they're going to have in mind of what Russia does to us. We'll totally ignore all the crap we do to them. Out of mind. And Americans won't remember any of this. So all they have in mind is what's waved in front of their face. Oh, Russia's hacking us. Russia's hacking us, right? Russian election interference and hacking. I mean, what we do to Russia? Okay, I'll say we're not hacking them. We don't hack Russia. We have no interest in hacking Russia. We have no interest in getting intelligence through hacking Russia. We'll say that this never happened. What the Secretary of Air Force Thomas Reed said as far as, planning malware. Okay, that never happened. We'll say that. Okay, that never happened. That's make-believe, we'll just say. Okay, I'll give you that. Right? I'll give you the whole damn thing. Right? It doesn't matter. It's still 18-2. Oh, but you don't remember the 17. And you don't remember the 18. It's only what Russia does. Why? Because that's self-serving bias. Right? Don't look at the twig in don't look at the point the finger at the twig in the other person's eye, but overlook the fact that you got a big ass log jammed in your eye. That's what they're doing. This is self-serving bias. This is the Klient-Kadansky experiment, if you remember that. Probably not. Alright, so, yeah. But they'll totally ignore that as well, right? Or the liars will try to deny that we hack Russia. Yeah, they will, right? We're not hacking Russia. They'll make this into a big debate and then shift all focus on it and off of all the U.S. aggressions, right? Which are far more serious, which are absolutely proven, including nuclear threats, right? They'll shift all focus off of that and onto, it's a debate. It's debatable whether or not we're hacking Russia. Okay. I mean, you got to be seriously brainless to think that we're not hacking Russia. But okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give that much to you. We're not hacking Russia, right? Right. In some wacko universe, we're not hacking Russia. Well, I'll give that to you. All right. The liars will shift all focus off of the facts and intelligent analysis by making a single point attack, and that will be the sole defining thing in the masses' mind, especially when it's made into a big wave of social reality. Everyone's saying it. Everyone's laughing and mocking. Everyone's saying, he's crazy, he's unreal. Right? Well, who's unreal? The people who know nothing. They know none of the facts. All right? They retain none of the facts. All they got is what's the little bit that's waved in front of their face. Right? Here, look at this. They're waving in front of your face, and that's your sole reality. And social reality wave will always work because, one, masses remember none of the facts, intelligent analysis. They remember none of it pertaining to all the attacks on Russia. And the power of social reinforcement over facts and analysis. The liars will scream, we don't hack Russia. There's no evidence that we hack Russia. I mean, granted, I only presented that, I'm not I didn't present any evidence. Well, I presented the thing with Thomas Reed, right? Right. I'm not an expert on U.S. hacking operations. I don't want to be an expert. I don't want to waste the time to research all this, right? But this is something that's common sense, all right? We've been spying on the Soviet Union and Russia forever. Massive. They've been spying on us. We've been spying on them. It's been a whole big Cold War fight. Why do we suddenly stop? Oh, we don't spy on Russia. We don't hack Russia. Well, how do you spy today? Mostly through hacking. We don't do that. We have no interest in it. Now, WikiLeaks documents prove that the CIA have an extensive hacking organization and have hacked and attacked tens of thousands of hacks, all right, and have elaborate methods for both hacking, right? I don't want to review all the methods. I may discuss them. I don't know. I may skip it. And they have elaborate methods for avoiding being caught. They talk about it. They're on record talking about how you got to avoid being caught. The U.S. has plenty of spy agencies which spy, and hacking is today the easiest and most prevalent form of spying today, right? Since spying is the easiest and most prevalent form of since hacking is the easiest and most prevalent form of spying today. If we don't spy on Russia, if we're not hacking Russia, we must not see them as a threat, right? I mean, come on, it's like ridiculous. It's like no-brainer, right? You've got to be stupid not to think this, right? How's this passed? Well, because it's made a big wave in social reality. It's crazy. He thinks we're hacking Russia. Ugh. Okay, we're not hacking Russia. I'll give that to you. We're not hacking Russia. No matter how crazy that is, we're not hacking Russia. I'll give you that much. I'll give you that bone. Okay, chew on your bone. Good for you. We're not hacking Russia. Crazy as it is, okay, fine. Since 2018, it is official U.S. policy to conduct offensive cyber hacks, warfare against Russia. That's our policy. That's stated. That's public knowledge. Oh, but we're not hacking Russia. Okay, all right. I'll give that to you. I'll give you a bone, right? You can have that bone. Chew on it. We're not hacking Russia. We're doing 18 other things, and that's what's really starting the Cold War. We're playing dirty games, right? But let's take the large, ridiculous, and untenable stance that we don't hack Russia. We don't bother to try to collect information and spy on them that way, right? We still conduct 18 aggressions against Russia, if we include meddling in their elections. There are 2 aggressions against us, meddling and hacking, all right? What do we focus on? Do we focus on this 18? Hell no! We totally get that out of mind. We focus on this. And the one vulnerable thing is hacking. So what did the liars shift our focus onto? Hacking. Shift the focus. All right? What do they wave in front of the eyes of the masses? Hacking. That's it. All right? And then they make a big wave attack based on that. You see how lying and dishonest and deceptive that is? And it's working. All the masses are falling for it right now. And how often do they fall for it? Thousands and thousands of times. How many times have I taught it? Thousands of times. And it works no matter what. It never ends. So even when we accept the comical claim that the U.S. doesn't hack Russia, well, let's accept that. I'll give you that bone, right? We still are the ones driving the new Cold War with an overwhelming amount of attacks upon Russia. We're going after them over and over. All right? Now, try to keep this in your mind. I know 99% aren't even paying attention. 99.999 aren't even paying attention. And the rest, they're going to forget about it anyways. All right? And then what's going to dominate? Whatever is waved in front of their face in social reality. Which I'm sorry, but it's retard reality. It's baseless junk, but it dominates because everyone's saying it, and that's the masses. And you can't fight that, right? All right.